Prepare to meet thy doom, mortals, as you listen to a particularly evil-sounding Mojo podcast. Mwahaha!
Okay, are you recording now?
I am.
Hooray! Welcome, listeners, to an experimental Mojo-cast. Everyone else... what?
Yeah, we're trying something out because we've been left here pretty much. That's the email I got.
I didn't get an email. I just know that all the staff went off to the Christmas party at wonderful Cambridge College, and we didn't get invited to that.
Yeah, that was my email, was saying you're specifically not invited.
Oh, right. I didn't even get an email, so that's how they think about me. We've got a very packed show for you, though. It's going to be 30 minutes. This is already feeling very surreal and weird.
Yes.
Partly because I'm speaking into a computer.
Yeah,
and I can't
that's
see
always
anyone.
part of a problem.
Not that there's anyone to see. What? I can't hear you. Speak up.
You see, Mojo was much better in the days when it was a physical piece of paper that was delivered to people's houses.
Yeah.
Because there was more of an interaction. But now it's all a computer.
Yeah. Speaking of physical pieces of paper, or lack of, I've got some emails. We've only got one email. Oh, I've only got one email this week. We usually get a bit more.
I took one out of the inbox. We may have the same email, but I have one.
Right. Well, I've got one from Rachel from Kent.
Okay.
Says, "Hi guys, love the show. I listen every week. I listened to your Tales of Monkey Island podcast, and I very much like elTee's voice.
Really?
Tell me, please, is he single?" That's from Rachel in Kent.
Has Rachel enclosed a picture?
No.
No personal details? An
Nope.
address?
Don't think so. What do you think?
You know, I'm incredibly paranoid because if I had some kind of contact details, I'd be quite happy to say, yes, I am, of course, single.
Yes is the answer from elTee. That's good
But
news from Rachel from Kent, who's 12 years old.
Oh, well, there we go, you see. Absolutely.
You see,
yes,
you have to
definitely.
You have to beat off the 12-year-old girls with a stick, don't you?
Well, there's something about, I have that thing where...
See, well, you don't even have to do anything about it. Well,
No.
whereas when I beat 12-year-old girls with a stick, suddenly it's this great crime, and I'm arrested.
But you can't just go to the schoolyard and do that.
Well, you see, that's the mistake I've been making.
Yes, you have to wait until it's provoked.
Yes. I did actually have one question myself about your voice.
Oh,
And
okay.
about your accent specifically.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, please. Oh, yes. You've become very southern, haven't you? What's happened to your northern accent?
It's morphed into some weird hybrid of Manchester and Cheltenham, which is
Right.
the first hybrid of that kind in history.
Yes, I should explain to listeners at this point, if you're not aware of what we're talking about, elTee has moved from the far north, in fact the North Pole, and
Yes.
now lives in the south, in fact the South Pole, so he's moved from two extremes. And normal people usually sound like this. They always talk about pies. They say, if your face was a pie, I'd eat your face, and things like that. And southern people talk about crumpets. Is that right? Is that accurate, do you think?
I do now know what a crumpet is. So, yeah, I used to know what a pie was, and I vaguely know that it was something from my youth. I used to talk about them. Perhaps
You used to eat them a lot, didn't you?
It's a food, of course. Yes, I hate them.
The food.
Yes.
For people in the north of England. We're
That's
talking
it.
about England,
That's
by
it.
the way.
Because you could take any other piece of food and you could put it in a pie, and that would make it.
Listeners will be very confused, though, because they'll be thinking this is a mix and mojo.
Well, you can put a pie in your pocket.
What?
I'm just saying. You can put a pie in your pocket. You can put it under your
Still
hat.
talking about pies.
Sorry, you've just brought back these incredible memories from my
Well,
youth.
you can put crumpets in your pocket as well. Put a monkey in your pocket, and that's a good link to the next point I was going to make, which is if you're listening, if you just tuned in to the Mix and Mojo podcast, you're probably thinking, what on earth's going on? We're not talking about LucasArts, we're talking about pies. Well, everything is related, and actually, pies and LucasArts aren't necessarily polar opposites. And we will be talking about LucasArts a little bit later on, so stay tuned for that.
Well, that's interesting because that relates to the email that I got.
Oh, go on.
And I'll read this out to you. It says, "Dear Mix and Mojo, how do you decide which companies to cover in your news? When I was a child, you covered LucasArts, but now you seem to cover every Bay Area game studio. What's the story?" And that's from Andre Olsen, who's 37.
Any relation to Remy?
Possibly not.
Oh,
because
right. The 37. Is that a reference to... Is Remy 37? Surely not.
I think
Surely
Remy's
he's older than that.
15?
15?
Yes.
Right.
Oh, no, he's got to be 21 because he likes to drink.
He likes more than just a drink. Well, let's respond to that. Firstly, I don't think it's true. We don't really cover every Bay Area studio. There's probably some more. And secondly, we don't really cover any of them. Not even LucasArts.
I think that's true. I had to think about it, and I thought you were the person to ask because I didn't know how to respond to the email because, we cover everyone now as far as I'm concerned. I remember there was a post once we put up there about the Queen.
The Queen. Well, it was the Queen Mother, wasn't it?
It was some member of the royal household.
Yeah, that this does link into the main section of discussion tonight, which is what did you think of the noughties, and what were the defining features of the noughties? And one of them might be, the Queen Mother thing that Spaff put up. Queen Mother died. Spaff, in his infinite wisdom, put a picture the next day, I think, of the Queen Mother resurrected as a cyborg. Very controversial. A lot of people on the comments saying,
I'm never visiting this site again. I'm absolutely outraged. And this is a disgrace.
And that explains why we have so few readers.
Right, yeah.
To this day.
We lost about 99% of them.
That's what it was. I never made the connection.
Yeah, but, there are other defining features of the noughties.
Sure.
Do you have any?
Yeah, the main thing I remember about the noughties is the tremendous, incredibly catalyzing event that was when LucasArts decided to sort of say, no more, we're not interested.
Yeah. But now they've come back.
Yeah, I'm still very...
sort of. They've bounced back.
I think, it's sort of like... It's like a pet, and you love the pet. But then one day it runs away. And then maybe 5 years later it comes back and you think, I want to be friendly, I want to cuddle the pet, I miss the pet. But at the same time, what the hell has it been doing?
Yeah.
Where has it been?
Yeah.
And what has...
Pet?
Yeah,
Where has it been?
Maybe even if you're wildly insane and conspiratorial, it's not the same animal. But,
well, we were talking about this earlier about Tales of Monkey Island and how it was a bit like having sex with like someone you've had a crush on for a long time.
Yes.
Like 10 years or so. And
yes.
The sex is good and you're glad that you're having sexual intercourse. But you kind of can't help but wishing that you'd done it earlier.
Yeah.
By the way, this is an example I took from a book rather than my own experience. I'm just saying that in case people think I'm, the king of smut or something. I'm just saying, it's from a book.
Yes, it's fair enough. I think many of the people associated with the site seem to have they're more smutty than you. There's hosted sites have been quite graphically smutty recently.
Well, that was the Smut Center you're thinking of, smutcenter.mixandmojo.com. We had to close that down. It was too smutty.
Yes.
Apparently it's against the law of the LFN.
Yes, the LFN.
Jay Onesi got involved.
See, I've got to tell you this, and I shouldn't really admit this, at least not on a MojoCast, but I never read that book they sent me, the list of rules and regulations.
Did you not?
The LFN manifesto.
Well, there's a lot of beheadable offences.
Really?
Such as
I was
swearing.
not aware. Swearing.
Saying fuck. You can't say fuck
Shit.
at all. Shit. That's another one. You can't piss on someone's face, which I think that's ridiculous. Why wouldn't you? Why would you have a problem?
Some people enjoy. Some people have asked me that in the past.
Well, this is what Smart Centre was all about. But anyway, I mean, it's a sad loss, but we have to get over it. And I think probably the noughties is full of sad losses. I mean, it's the decade that killed everyone off. Michael Jackson, John F. Kennedy, J.K. Rowling.
Ron Gilbert, of course, famously.
Ron Gilbert, very sadly, was assassinated in 2006. And how can we continue without Ron Gilbert? There'd be no more Monkey Island games. Well, at least that's what we thought until Tales of Monkey Island came along, which I think is a bit offensive.
It was too soon, wasn't it?
It really was. People also forget that the noughties started with Escape from Monkey Island, and they've ended with Tales of Monkey Island. And in the middle,
that's a very fascinating point, actually.
Well, we've got this howling tundra of nothingness in the middle.
Yes.
But it's funny how the decade has been framed by these two, in some respects, extremes. Because some people really didn't like Escape from Monkey Island. And Tales of Monkey Island has done very, very well. People love it.
It feels peculiar to have a decade of my life bookended by these adventures. And one of them being a bookend that made me sad, and another one being a bookend that merely existed.
And in the middle, there's no book. It's just bookends.
It feels strange for me to categorise my life based on these things that seem sort of disparate, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, I think Tales of Monkey Island came along because there are people who have worked on these games who realise quite clearly if it doesn't happen at the end of the decade, then they're going to be out of kilter with the whole sequencing, which is the way that games seem to be released.
I suppose I don't know anything about games, I have to say. Going back to the noughties, what was your overall opinion on the decade? Did you like it?
I did, and it was for a reason that is sort of, it's a difficult one to admit to, but it was about the time when, before I try and explain myself, let me ask you this: have you played the Sam & Max games made by Telltale?
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy them?
Yeah, they're all right.
You see,
you wanted me to say no, I haven't.
I wanted you to say no.
Sorry. Okay, do it again.
Let's just
We'll edit this later. Ask me again.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Did you play the Telltale Sam & Max games?
No, I didn't.
You didn't play them?
I did not.
Wow, you see? I didn't think you had.
What?
And that's because...
Uh-huh.
Well, I didn't think you had, because I remember very, very distinctly when Freelance Police was cancelled, there was an outrage. Everyone was furious. Yes?
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Oh, the hate site. You remember that?
The hate site, yes. There was a picture of... there was feces in a toilet.
Yeah, that was my favourite one.
There was a picture of Remy in his dressing gown for some reason.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I don't know what that had to do with that site. I think he was just... Well, I won't get into the psychoanalysis of that. But anyway, what I realised at that point was it was something insanely liberating about being able to hate these people now.
It was like in 1984 when they have this period of every day, which is the hate hour, and they can just shout things at a projection of someone who doesn't even exist, probably.
It was like primal scream therapy.
Yeah.
It was
a great period.
It was wonderful. It was the most creative period of the community's existence.
But what point were you making originally about have you played Sam & Max? Is that related at all?
Well, yeah, my point was that it turns out we weren't annoyed about the game being cancelled at all.
Because we didn't play the Telltale episodes.
We didn't play that.
I mean, some people did, obviously, but a lot of people didn't.
I think those people, they were just generally...
they were just angry,
They were trying to fill the void without realising that they'd exercised something from within themselves, and they missed it for some reason, and they wanted to fill it up again. But I exercised it. And
now you're Mr. Mellow. You don't ever get angry anymore.
That's really interesting. I'm laid back now.
So we've got about 10 minutes left, because I know I'm very conscious of the fact that you have to catch an aeroplane to fly to Azerbaijan.
Yes,
I
yes.
thought we could move on to predictions of the teenies, which is the next decade. What do you think will happen?
Well, I think that Telltale are in a position that's quite similar to the position LucasArts were in maybe 1987.
Uh-huh.
And they danced around with a few dodgy little games that people like and get good reviews, but broadly speaking, not got the huge appeal that's going to make them much money. And now they've suddenly made a game towards the end of that decade that's called something Monkey Island that everyone seems to like.
Right.
And they're going to use this.
This is their crowning moment of awesome, really, isn't it?
This is they figured out how they want to make games at this point. And so I predict Telltale are probably going to have maybe 4 or 5 good years. They're going to have a few dodgy games. They're going to make a few puzzle games. But then they're going to try and make a serious game.
Yeah.
And
then they'll burn out.
Yeah.
Do you think? They'll explode.
Be a famous film director attached to that serious game who perhaps for whatever reason has had an idea that isn't a particularly good idea, but he wants to just palm it off to someone else to see if they'll go along with it just because it's his name, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we'll just kind of sit around until the end of the decade, the end of the teenies, and we'll look back and say, actually, it used to be a lot better than this. And then perhaps it will be a good feeling, like how it used to feel, where you could feel nostalgic about something that in reality isn't that good.
Yeah, that's like I think that's the appeal of the website Mix and Mojo, is that people go on it with a feeling of nostalgia, and it's not really that good. I mean, there's not actually that much there for a start.
No.
If you actually boil the matter down.
I don't really know what's there.
Well, there's a few features and things. I mean, for a 13-year-old site, there's not much on these bones, as they say in the north. Is that a northern phrase, or did I just make that up?
Yeah, I understood that, and I wasn't quite sure why, and I think you've just hit the nail on the head. Great.
I've connected to the inner elTee there.
It's in my northern DNA.
Actually, I think a more interesting question, potentially, is not what will happen in the next 10 years, but what will happen in the next 100 years. Or do you think Mix and Mojo will be around in the year 2100?
I think it probably will.
Really?
I think
that's insane.
I know for a fact that there are these people who've gone to this party. I'm not going to name names. For whatever reason, they didn't want to...
Oh, Remy?
He's there.
Sorry.
And I know he's heavily involved in this project, and it's...
Oh, Jake Rodkin?
Yeah, he's involved as well, and they're not going to...
Everything Jake does is for the website.
Yeah, I mean...
Blessed be his name.
He's something of a martyr in a way.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah. I would say definitely.
But I know that they've got this scheme that they've been cooking up, and I found some documents on the server that I would say in 100 years they will achieve their aims, and they're going to bring... I'm sorry to tell you this, but they're going to bring Gilbert back.
I had heard a rumour about this. I don't know if we should be speaking about this on the podcast, really. It's top secret information.
This is... I feel obliged, I think it goes against the natural order.
Yeah, but my question is, how can they bring back Ron Gilbert when he doesn't have a heart anymore? Because my understanding was that the heart was cut out and dropped into the Pacific Ocean. Now, unless they can somehow retrieve that heart, which I doubt, because it had probably been eaten by now, or what, they will make a new one, but then it won't really be Ron Gilbert, will it?
That's my point. It's against the natural order. They're pursuing technologies that are beyond, to be perfectly frank, these technologies are beyond their understanding of science. They're just following the instruction manuals and ignoring the ethical implications. And you've raised the most important question of all, is where the hell are they going to get a heart from?
Yeah.
I don't want to know the answer to that question, frankly.
Possibly a monkey heart?
Well,
I mean, a monkey heart would be appropriate. You could at least say, this is ethically horrible, but it is very apposite for Monkey Island.
I mean, I'm sure he would at least appreciate the joke when he finally turned his eyes back open and realised that he'd returned.
Yeah, but he doesn't have any eyes either, because they were cut out too. So what are they going to do about that? Gonna have to get someone else's eyes, or make some fake eyes or something. Monkey eyes again. The man's gonna be mostly monkey. It's not gonna be Ron Gilbert. It's gonna be Ron Monkey Man.
And they're gonna.
I don't want to live in a world where Ron Monkey Man makes Monkey Island. I want to live in a world where Ron Gilbert makes Monkey Island.
Yes, exactly. And
we're not going to see that anymore.
No, I mean,
I just think that's quite sad.
It's sad, but it's not so sad that we should defy nature in this brazen way.
I don't know. I'm thinking about defying nature now, actually.
You're going to join the project, aren't you?
Well, you've warmed me up to it, to be honest. I mean, I'm not for Ron Monkey Man. I think we should be against that. But, perhaps we could make someone else be Ron Gilbert. Someone else could be like an honorary Ron Gilbert. I mean, it's just a title, really, isn't it? It wasn't even his real name. I mean, he was technically the Ron of Gilbert.
So what you're suggesting is that it becomes a title that is bestowed upon someone.
Yeah.
And is it a divine right kind of thing, or is this a democracy? Is someone born...
No, it's a divine right.
Are they like the Dalai Lama? When one dies, a new one is born, and we must hunt for the new Ron?
Maybe. I don't know. It's not really a religion, though, is it? Monkey Island. I mean, I looked at a lot of fanatics about it, but I don't think it's quite the same. So it's probably... No. I wouldn't say it was a democracy either. It's more of kind of a fascist police state. And that's the way we like it.
That's the easiest way to keep control.
It's the best way. It's the best form of government, isn't it?
As long as we're at the top, I'm all for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's reasonable in the middle and the bottom as well, probably. I haven't really done much research into this. I have to say, I disagree about you thinking that Mix and Mojo will still be around in 100 years' time. I think it will have evolved into something so different now that we can't really call it Mix and Mojo. In fact, the internet will have evolved into being implanted into our palms, and it will be the size of an atom. And when we look at it, our genitals will enlarge magically.
Well, to be honest, okay.
That will be the internet.
That makes sense. I can see that people would probably be working on that right now.
Yeah, that's what they're doing at Google.
Right. Of course. That's why it's called Google.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason why it's called Google.
Oh.
We've got 1.5 minutes left of the half hour. Oh, have we? Oh no, we don't. We've got oodles of time. I'm looking at the wrong kind of clock. We've got 6.5 minutes. What am I talking about?
You see, there is something that happens when these podcasts are recorded where time tends to get lost. The last one that I was involved with, 8 seconds disappeared.
Right.
And
you only thought it took 8 seconds. It actually took 8 hours.
Well, that was the weird thing. I found myself...
It's the effect of LSD.
When it was like I was abducted. And I was sat there and I was still talking. And I realised I didn't know what I was talking about. And then later on I discovered that not only did I not know what I was talking about, but that I hadn't even been there when I was talking.
Yeah.
And Soren, he was furious. He has to... he's got a big machine, and he runs each of these...
I know all about his machine. We don't need to hear about that. I know everything he does with his machine.
Well, I mean, he's Norwegian.
Yeah, and I mean, basically what happened was that you finished recording the podcast last week, and then you turned your computer on, and that was the mistake.
Yeah, I think, okay, there is a strong argument, you're right, that it was, less a scientific anomaly and more human error. But really, are those two things any different?
Well, metaphysically they aren't, of course, but metaphysically nothing actually exists, as surplus Gamer would say. But then what, when you boil the matter down, is wrong with something not existing? Monkey Island doesn't exist as an island, and yet we've all been there.
That's, a potent statement.
I'm there now, in my mind. Don't you think that, or do you think that actually imaginative reality is as important as physical reality?
I think it's more important.
Really? You see, I think that is the key message we can take away from the noughties, based on the games we've played, all the LucasArts hoo-ha, is that, the place to be here is now, in our minds, in dreams. Let's go to sleep, let's never wake up, let's dream about Monkey Island forever, and that will, in some ways, be better than the existence we're living now. Plug me into the Matrix, please. Yeah?
Even the name they gave it in those games. Can you honestly tell me that you personally would not like? Is there anything at all that doesn't sound appealing about something called the Carnival of the Damned? It's a carnival. I mean, how can you go wrong with Carnival?
Yeah.
And the Damned.
Damned.
Yes.
Oh, I love a good damning. Delicious.
Exactly.
Yum, yum, yum.
I mean, that's what got Ron Gilbert in trouble to begin with. And he was... I saw, I mean, it's shocking. It's horrible footage, to be perfectly honest. But he has a smile on his face.
When he was killed?
Well, if you can call it that.
If you can call it killed, or if you can call it a smile.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a completely... you can interpret it in many ways. There are people who've written...
You see, I think it was a grimace. I mean, I know people say he was smiling when he was killed, but I think it was a smile of pain rather than of laughter.
Really?
I mean, I don't know. This is for other people to decide. I wondered actually if I could ask you what do you think is the best LucasArts related game of the noughties?
LucasArts related. That's a good question, and I think I've not played enough of them.
Oh, you haven't played any of them? Sorry, I forgot who I was talking to there.
No, I did. I played one of them actually. I played one of them, and I really liked it. I liked Brutal Legend.
You played Brutal Legend. You see, I haven't.
Yes.
So we're perfectly matched, because I've played everything else apart from Brutal Legend. I haven't played A Vampire Story, obviously, nobody has, but I've played all the Telltale games.
That's a very tenuous link to LucasArts anyway. He was... Bill Tiller was some kind of janitor or something?
Right, yeah, he was the janitor. He was also the lead background artist of Curse of Monkey Island.
Oh, right.
You really don't like Bill Tiller, do you? Always laying into him. What's your problem? Hey, you jerk, what's the big idea? What has Bill Tiller ever done to you? Were you, bitten as a child by someone who looked vaguely like Bill Tiller?
No.
And since then you've hated him?
We were
this
good
vendetta
friends for a time. We had a long correspondence, and he gave me lots of advice, and I gave him lots of advice, and I thought it was something of a beautiful friendship. And then...
That sounds very sexually exciting. Ooh! Oh no, sorry, go on.
Well, I mean, we never explored that, but it was always there. Anyway, one day...
The sexual tension was always there.
Of course, I mean... You've met Bill Tiller as well.
Yeah, I have.
It would be improper for me to talk about those kind of things, without his permission. But he gave me his address, and the implication was clear. And so I took the time. I did a Remy, as it were, and took some money out of the Mojo accounts and went to America. And he wasn't there.
Yeah,
and then
that was because he moved. He moved to Boston.
Exactly.
Though.
And he didn't tell me
there.
this. He did not tell me any of this.
He's married as well.
Well...
He does have children, too.
What else? Children?
Yeah. What was that rattle? Were you rattling your drugs there? Was that a bit of LSD?
I honestly... no.
I heard a rattle. Am I going mad?
Yes.
Maybe it's Skype telling us that the time is nearly up.
Yes.
It is... Yeah, go on.
I was going to say there's 2.5 minutes left.
What are you going to fill those 2.5 minutes with?
We forgot to do the adverts, and the LFN are going to be really, really angry with us because...
They won't listen to this.
It's not funny because, no, I did get a phone call from them saying we've put out 8 podcasts, I believe, about... let's see, in total we're looking at about 4.5 days worth of audio.
That's true.
Those 8. And in their rules, it's for every 15 minutes, 5 minutes of adverts.
Yeah.
Which means that in terms of revenue, the amount that they have lost by us not using them is literally in the dozens and dozens of pounds.
This is a good point, actually. We should put an advert at the end of this podcast, just to remind people to use the minty taste of minty mint. Ooh, no, it's really minty. Or whatever.
It has to be Star Wars adverts.
Ah, right.
Or there is some soccer mum who posts on the forum who has found some way of whitening teeth. I don't know what she's
all those adverts that Jake Rodkin hates.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
Rodkin, that guy again. That was a Murray impression. What was it? What did he say? Good stuff, Jake. Talk
I
to the
said-
hand, Jake. Oh, wait, I don't have any. Something like that, anyway.
You're talking about the bloopers, which we're not supposed to know about. So
Oh, whoops. We'll edit that out later. And we'll edit out all the awkward parts, which is most of this.
yes, that's
Apart from that bit just then. That was good.
Yes, that was pretty much the benchmark.
Yeah, that moment there, that little microsecond. Do you think we should end this now? I mean, when I say end this, I mean actually just commit suicide.
That's much more appealing, because that way, I don't have to worry about saving any files and figuring it. It gets so confusing, and then I'll realise that I've become unstuck in time again and be accused of taking powerful drugs beyond my station, which are completely unfounded.
You know, that reminds me of the comment you made about Grim Fandango, which is that if I knew that Grim Fandango was true, then I'd kill myself right now.
Did I say that?
I think you said that. It might have been someone else. But it's a good place to end the podcast with that little thought for the day.
Yeah, actually, that is absolutely true, because who wouldn't want to go to Rubicava?
Okay, bye!
Goodbye.
Are you going to say bye?
I just said goodbye.
I didn't hear you. Do it again.
Goodbye.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'll stop recording.
Okay.
I guess we'll have to eat this boring oatmeal.
It's a trap!
Wow, Admiral Akbar! Wow, Admiral Akbar cereal!
Colorful marshmallows!
It's crappy!
Your tongues can't repel flavor of that magnitude.
There's a prize in every box!
Admiral Akbar cereal, now with brine shrimp.